This is FBG.Live. From touchdowns and concerts to weddings and Christmas parades. Live video production right here in Fredericksburg, Texas. Live, local, here for you. FBG.Live, capturing your moment for generations to enjoy.
And welcome to the Fredericksburg Theater and the 2026 City Council Candidate Forum. Tonight's forum is being broadcast live on FBG Live, and it also is being recorded, so you can watch it again if you would like, or if you have friends who would like to watch it, they can do that. The forum is sponsored by Security State Bank and Trust. We appreciate the ongoing community support from Dan Kemp and his team. I also want to thank the Fredericksburg Theater for hosting us this evening. It seems to be a pretty good little theater here to have this evening tonight. As I mentioned earlier, the protocol will be that each of the candidates will have a 2-minute opening and closing statement, so I'll have 2 minutes for each question. And then at the end, if we do have time, we'll take questions from the audience. And we have one microphone here that you can come down and ask the question for that. So I'd like to get started. I'd like to bring Dan Kemp up to talk about the FISD bond. And at the end, we will have time for hopefully 1 or 2 questions about the bond if you'd like.
Thank you. Hello? There it is. So my name is Dan Kemp. I'm the chairman and CEO of Security State Bank and Trust, and thank you for allowing us to have time to come and talk about our Fredericksburg ISD bond coming up. Some high level stuff so we can get going and get to important things with the council and mayor candidates here. But discussions about the new high school have been going on for years. I've had certain bond or board members said that they've talked to Mark Williams back to 2010 about what are we going to do with this aging high school. I've had another board member say when he got on in 2018, there's discussions have been going on a long time about what to do with an aging building. In 25, they formed a master committee to really tackle it. What are we going to do? Where are we going to put it? They determined there's definitely a need for a new high school. So do they put it in the existing spot? Do they tear buildings down, rebuild, have time? Do they move it to a different spot? There was a lot of discussion about rebuilding the existing location. Someone came up with the idea of let's relocate it. Will it fit on a different spot on school property? And it does. So then they said, okay, let's go with that. The bond steering committee was formed in late 25. I was asked to come and listen in. And I thought, I think I need to go listen. It's $160 million. It's a lot of money. I want to go ask some questions. I want to go see what the plan is, understand what's going on. So I did. Asked a lot of questions. There were, 50, 60 people in the room, teachers, parents, businessmen around the community, asking the difficult questions. Why do we need to do this? Then they took us for a tour, and we looked. I'll backtrack a little bit. I have 2 daughters in high school. One's a junior, one's a freshman. I went to a parent-teacher meeting, walked in, and I said, the school's not bad. It's clean. The paint looks good. The floors are mopped. They take care of it. It's old, but it's clean. Didn't think much of it. Also part of the incubator program at the high school that's new this year. Fantastic program. I get to be a mentor in the classroom with a team. It's been a great experience for me, been a great experience, I think, for the kids. And I'm up there every Wednesday. Now I'm starting to get to see the school. Bathrooms don't work. Had to go to the bathroom, walked in. There are no toilets. There are no urinals. They're capped off. Not there. Go to another one. Lines are all out trying to use one little bathroom downstairs. I said, that's kind of strange. Fast forward to the bond steering committee. They gave us a tour. Well, come to find out, clay pipes fail. hard to replace. One of the teachers said, our special ed teacher said, well, it's when the toilets overflow. I thought that was strange. I'm like, when, not if? She goes, oh, it's quite often. And all the sewage runs underneath the walls into the classroom. It's old. I've told people, I think we're out of lipstick for this. Built in 1965, it's time to do something. So, took it to the board. The steering committee decided unanimously it's best to build one contiguous high school on the south end of the football stadium. That was the best bet. If we were to replace the building on its existing footprint, it would take a year or two longer to build, and it was $40 million more than what it is now. No brainer. Build a new one, south end of the end zone, south end of the stadium where the big parking lot is, where the bus barn is. Go all the way down, make the turn. There's some practice fields that goes out there. It will take it's not been designed, but the architects were tasked with, will it fit on school property that we already own? The answer is yes. So that's what we went to the board. Board unanimously passed it, $160 million. The school will cost, in the bond, the school is $150 million. There are $10 million of others that needs to be, they need a new roof on primary, we need some new AC fixtures in different areas, so there's other things and other campuses that need to be addressed. That's what that money is. There is $7 million that was left over from the middle school bond. That was going to the CTE courses. We have 80% of our kids are in a CTE class. They're doing a wonderful job. They decided instead of adding on or replacing, they said, you know what, let's just wait. We need to see what we're going to do with this high school. Decided to do it. Let's don't spend good money after bad and do that. Let's hold it. So that money is still in an account, earning interest, which will go towards the new high school. So it wasn't wasted. So the real cost is $157 million. $150 will be for the bond. We have $7 million to complete the CT and everything. The old high school has 7 buildings, and I was told today 133 exit doors. Today's a different world than what I think most of us grew up in. We like to think that nothing major would happen in this community because it's Fredericksburg, but it's a different world. It's a different time. It needs to be locked down, needs to be secure. Security is an issue. That handles that issue. Let me backtrack a little bit on this. When the school is built, won't disrupt our current classes. Kids will go to class, they'll do that. Once the building is built, they'll move over. The auditorium, the current competitive gym will be kept. Everything else, there may be one other building that is decided or something that may have an extra purpose. One of the newer buildings, there's some discussion about that, but everything else will be torn down. New practice fields will go where the existing building is, more parking stuff. So it's been really well thought out and well done. The maintenance of the old high school is costly. It's unable to keep up. Like I said, clay pipes are failing, there's flooding, there's many more other issues. Classroom sizes aren't up to current standards for kids. ADA issues. Like I said, I mean, God forbid, if we have a problem in that building with our ADA kids, it's going to be really hard to get them out of that building. The ramps aren't there. They've got to go through 3 different classrooms to get somewhere to get out of the building. It's just problems. It's old. Let's talk about taxes. The rate, we've done the calculations, the tax rate does not need to increase to do this. Hey, taxes are taxes. We're going to get our appraisal. Appraisals will come in. We got to pay our taxes. Doesn't matter if we build a high school or not, your tax bill is going to be the same. appraisals go up in value, that's where it's at. But the rate is not going to increase. That rate has not increased, I think, goes all the way back to 2008. They've paid off several bonds. We have room to do this one now. There's been a lot of questions over why now? Why didn't we do it the first time? Well, middle school was old. It was older. Dirt came available. They bought it. It needed to happen right then. They passed it. Did not have the capacity at the time to build the high school, had a capacity, bond capacity to pass and do the middle school. They did it. Was it perfect? No. I don't know if any of y'all have ever built a house. I've built a few, and not one of them have I gotten perfect. Always a problem. But I think they've learned a lot. They've addressed the issues. They've hired a new architect, a new firm, and they're addressing the issues that they learned from there. And the new one will be better. Will it be perfect? Nope, because it's construction. Just doesn't happen that way. But they've learned a lot, and they'll get it done. Like I said, the rate's not going to go up. 65 and older, taxes are locked in. Unless you do a major improvement to your home, that evaluation will stay the same. Talk about a little bit of pride. I think this community could use a new high school for the kids to be proud of, for our community to be proud of, for our teachers to be proud of. It's time. It's a good thing. The middle school, there's studies, I'm sure y'all read the paper. There's studies in the middle school that once they got everybody into the new school, the visits to the nurse went down 1,000. That's a big number. The attendance is up. The kids like it. It's easier on the principals because they're not looking at 7 different buildings and all the different exits and chasing kids all around. But right there, they can go check on the teachers and be involved. That's what the high school would be. On the bond, it is required, the state does require that on the ballot, it says this property tax will increase your taxes. It's by law, we have to put that on there. Please understand that the rate, your tax rate does not have to increase. Will the value of property increase? Yep, it does every year, but that rate won't. So, any questions? Love to answer. I have a former school board member, I have a current school board member, and if you can ask me a question, if I can't answer
You might
it.
explain what CTE is, the acronym that you use.
CTE, Career, Technology,
Education.
and Education. There you go. So that's your, and it is more than just what you think welding and wood shop and mechanics, right? So incubator is part of that. Your nursing program that they go through is part of that. There's the Casa Uber rallies, they build the house, that's part of that. So a lot of things. The kids are really getting to get their hands on something rather than just pure academics. Not all kids are going to go to college. This is a great tool from all these to get their hands, learn how to do something. Even if they are going to college, they need to learn how to do something. So.
Yeah, keeping the kids involved in that. I know like the systems go. I used to go out there and watch Brett and all them and Scott and them, the way they did that out there. And I tell you, the kids just, it was something to see and be around and be part of.
Yeah, that's another great program.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you, Dan.
You bet. Thank you.
One bit of clarification as we get into this. So the questions tonight came from members of the chamber. We sent out a questionnaire to the members of the chamber, and they sent back their questions, and we consolidated them down in the questions that you'll hear tonight. So let's get started with the opening statements. The first opening statement will come from Tony Klein. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Just to let you know, and I graduated from high school when I was 10, but that school was being built when I was a freshman in high school, and I was the first team under the first team to play football on that field. Now, I graduated from St. Mary's, so did Charlie. But I have 4 kids. In fact, my wife and I moved back here 32 years ago. I was born on Main Street like these guys over here were too. They've replaced a little, I think, the hospital. But anyway, I grew up here. I am running for re-election. It's my last term. That's my decision. I've served 4 years, and I just want to let everybody know that I intend to do the same thing I've done the last 4 years. No new surprises. I basically listen to the people, and as we can tell here recently, I think a good example is the battery deals. Everybody was kind of putting it, it's not our fault, we can't do anything about it, but people rose up and said we need to do something about it. And gladly, the city and the county are working on that together. We may not have anything to do with that jurisdiction, but we want to take care of our citizens here. So that's important. So we want, when I get an email, I try to reply back to you. So that's what I continue to do. Charlie used the deal common sense. That's what I plan to use. My wife, we raised 4 kids here. They all graduated from the high school here and became Aggies, by the way. So, but we're very proud, happy to live here. My wife and I, in about 2 weeks, will be married 44 years. So thank you. Look for your vote.
Thank you, Tony. All right, Gary. You can do whatever you like.
I'm Gary Neffendorf, candidate for city council. I've served on the city council previously, 2013 to 2020, and I also served on the charter review committee in 2025. I believe I have a unique qualification in that I was the city manager here for 20 years. And prior to that, I was the city administrator and director of finance. Those years have prepared me to be on the city council. I worked for 7 mayors, and I couldn't count how many council members I'd worked for. And I learned what good council members should do and shouldn't do. So, and also I prepared many city budgets, and I've managed many projects. Tonight we're going to talk about water as one of our main issues, so I'd like to give you an example of something that we did back in 1994. We found a piece of property called the Canals property, and we developed wells in 93, 94. Those wells are still active and very vital. That's just an example of some of the experience that I have and I can bring to the council. I'd love to work with the great city staff we have here, and I'd like to represent you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Charlie? Is that
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. They said stand behind the podium, but I don't think you can see me. And the lights are very bright, so if I shine on you, bear with me. I want to share with you that I had the good fortune of being born in Fredericksburg, Texas about 75 years ago. And I know a lot of folks out here have moved here in the last maybe 6 months to 6 years or 20 years. Welcome to Fredericksburg, become a fabric of our community. I married Janice Schonhorst, and we've been married for 51 years, and I don't know how she's put up with me, but she has, and we're going to be 52 in June 1st. Been blessed with 3 children here, Kyle, Adam, and Sky, and they all graduated from Fredericksburg High School. I graduated from St. Mary's, as Tony said, in Texas A&M University with not a master's, but a BBA in marketing there. I came back to Fredericksburg. I had a job opportunity in Houston, and I've told this story so many times. As I was driving to the interview and leaving the interview, I saw so many unhappy people, and I said, this country boy does not belong in this city. So I came back to Fredericksburg, worked in construction for a couple of years for Leo Blanchard, and you couldn't have found a better boss. He taught me a whole lot. I had the opportunity to take an Exxon service station across what we used to call the Admiral Nimitz Museum, and I was there for 24 years. After that, I became active and still active today in the real estate community. So I'm about town, and all the time. In fact, you may see me cruising around on my little red moped, and that's one of the things I do. I'm also blessed with 7 grandchildren, and my wife said, be sure you mention that you have 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws and a son-in-law, so I want to be sure they get credit as well. You know, public service begins with experience, knowledge, and a full commitment to this community. Over the years, I've been doing that. Been on the school board, been on the planning and zoning, been on my church council. One of the most proudest things I've done is I chaired the Optimist T-ball, and if you've never been to a T-ball game, you need to go. It's the most fun thing you'll ever watch. So experience is important. My family still continues to be active in the community, in the city, and the county. In fact, we are sponsors of the Gillespie County road litter cleanup on the Dall Spring Creek Road. Thank you, and I hope you'll support me in this election.
Great. Thank you very much, Charlie. Jerry? You can do whatever you like, Jerry.
This on?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Well, my name is Jerry Luckenbach, and I was born and raised in Fredericksburg, and I've seen it grow and grow from the lows to the highs, and everyone who can afford it would like to take a piece of the pie. I was blessed to have owned and run a family business that had up to 312 residents and employed over 200 staff. A lot of history from residents was lost, but thanks to, for example, like Glenn Trives, Carl Luckenbach, Milton Krenwalge, Tim Krenwalge, Pioneer Museum, Nimitz Museum, they keep it going. And there's many more volunteers that give their time, money, and knowledge and effort to keep it going. We are a community of caring. I enjoyed being my membership with civic organizations. We did fundraisers through the home. Fundraisers for the Heart Fund, that was in our family. Multiple sclerosis, my brother had that. And I was on boards of the co-ed and men's baseball, the youth baseball, city council. I'm on the Marketplace Redevelopment Board right now, and I was on the city charter committee that we set up for the city. I was under 5 different mayors that I can remember. You get old, you kind of forget things at times. Managing growth and infrastructure is a big issue, especially water resources and traffic. And affordability is still a sticky issue. We must find a solution. And I would like to get back on city council again. I enjoyed being on there. Our staff is great. And I'd just like to get back on. So I'm here if you would need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Emily?
Hello. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for everyone watching online. My name is Emily Kirchner, and I'm running for mayor of Fredericksburg. I have served as city councilman for the last 4 years, 2 of which have been as mayor pro tem, which is basically a vice mayor position. Whenever Mayor Hoover is not able to be at an event, I will go in his stead. So y'all can read my bio online, emilyformayor.com. But I want to tell y'all what I care about, and that is Main Street for everyone. I love seeing grandparents and kids taking their kids to Clear River, getting way too much sugar, getting them hyped up, and then getting on that little old rusty mechanical little horse out there. I love seeing friends going and shopping on Main Street and buying things and then going home and telling their friends how great Fredericksburg is. I think it is a wonderful town. We need to make sure that people can walk around town. So making sure strollers can get by just as easily as bicycles. Those things all matter. Also, stewardship of tax dollars. We can stretch dollars here. We can do a better job of being aware of what we bring in and also leverage our hotel occupancy tax spends and our sales tax spends to benefit residents and locals. And lastly, a safe and strong community. And yes, first responders are important. Yes, it's important to have a place where you can go and play games with your kids and watch people on the sidewalk being able to walk places and be safe. So those are things that matter to me. I think we are very special. We have a strong community. There's nothing revolutionary that needs to take place, but it's keep doing the next right thing. And I'm about fighting for our families, for our seniors, for our residents, and tourists. We very much depend on the tourist economy. So I know we're going to get more into tourism later, but those are the reasons why I'm running. Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Randy?
Thank you. I'm going to stand up if no one minds here. I'm Randy Briley. I was your city council member from 2023 to 2025. I know this is more of an introduction, but I'm not going to do that so much. I think you've all read our bios. In my military career in the U.S. Navy, submarine force, Fortune 500 companies, divisional vice presidents. You've already read that, and quite frankly, the average person probably may not care. So I want to tell you what I've been doing, and what I have been doing for the last 3 months roughly is interviewing people. I've now interviewed close to 45 individuals that have either influence or title or both. So what I've been trying to do is understand from their perspective what is the most important thing that they see in our community that needs to be done. I've also attended Coffee with the City Manager for 3.5 years, numerous HOA meetings, things of that nature. I've probably spoken to, I'm taking a wild guess, 400, 500 people. I've lost track. But there's been one common theme that has come up from all of those conversations, and it has been water. So by raise of hand, how many people view water as one of the most important things in the community? You all look and echo very much what I've heard and what I've talked about. So I'm going to stand here and not tell you about my resume because I don't think that's important anymore. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to commit to tonight. I will, in 24 and 30 to 36 months, have a third well field up and running, providing fresh water to the city of Fredericksburg. 24 to 36 months. The next question is about water. I'll tell you a little bit more about how and why and where, but that is one of the most important things. There's a lot of work, but I'm committed to doing this and stand in front of you and tell you I will get this done. Thank you.
Well, Randy, you get to go again. So let me read the question to everybody. So 25% of the submitted questions were about water. Our chamber members want to know your plans to address this issue, including funding to make sure the city meets the water needs of the community.
Yep, thank you, Jim. So back to the water, I've talked with Paul Babb, Underground Water District, spoken to the city staff and things of that nature. There, in 3 years ago, I guess, when I ran for council, I sat down with Chris Kiehne and I said, Chris, if I found $5 million, what would you do? Without skipping a beat, he said, Randy, find a third well field. So that started when I was on council. The conversation continued. There is now a site that has been located. The city's in conversation. The deal is not completed, so I can't talk about who or where or what. But that water is now currently budgeted for agriculture. So that well would in turn be leased to the city for municipal purposes. So that water is coming over to the city. So we're not technically putting a new straw into the aquifer. And the way this works is we have 2 well fields running today. And those, if you think about the Ellenberger Aquifer, it kind of looks like my hand. So the one in Old San Antonio is pulling from one leg, and the one on the Knopf well field on 290 is pulling from a second leg. And then the new one that we're talking about will pull from a third leg. So they don't cannibalize or steal water from one another. It's additive, and that's how that would work. So it's going to take a little bit of work. There's going to be capital requirements to plumb that in. I've talked to everybody about this, whether we do it through the enterprise fund. I think that has to be worked out where those dollars come from. But I think the resounding answer I've heard from our community is this is worth investing in. This is something we need to go do, and I'm committed to doing it.
Thank you very much, Randy. Emily?
Thank you. Water is indeed top of mind. So we have one source of water here in Gillespie County, and that is the Ellenberger Aquifer. That's groundwater. And yes, it's important to have another well field, and that's something that the rest of council is working on, and we should have voted on very soon. But bigger than that is we've got to be talking about conservation. We need to be talking about AC condensate on the new high school, using that water. We need to be talking about what does brackish desalination look like? What does aquifer storage and recovery look like? What does direct potable reuse look like? There are options out there that we need to really give good time to, because, I mean, you look at City of Marble Falls and City of Burney, they are both doing direct potable reuse. They're leveraging funds from the state, grant funds, and 0% interest loans. So it's not going to be just Fredericksburg that's responsible for this. People say, water has become a statewide issue. Are we ready if Governor Abbott comes and says, hey, how can we help you get water for your community? Okay, another well field? Yeah, that's one thing. But there's more out there. And also, I hate to say this, y'all, we're going to be okay. It's easy to look at other communities. Like you look at Canyon Lake. It's scary when you look at what they've done. But that is an unincorporated area. That is an area where they took a private company, over-permitted what they had the capacity for, and then developers just built a bunch of houses. That's not how we do things here in Fredericksburg. We've got a solid staff that's looking into, what is the living unit equivalent of these new developments coming in. There's plenty of due diligence done by fire, making sure that we can support the developments. So I know we'll talk about development later, but we've got to think bigger than just pulling more water out of our aquifer.
Great. Thank you very much. So, Jerry.
Boy, when you talk about water, that goes in a lot of different areas. One thing I want to do, I want to thank Clinton Bailey. When he got in, we started doing infrastructure on water lines and sewer lines, getting out the clay lines and redoing the water lines so we didn't have so much loss. There was a million gallons of water being lost, and they've gotten the numbers way down. So thanks to the city staff and the employees there for, working on that area of taking care of that. They took a real aggressive approach. There's also fresh water. There's only so much. But anyway, ASR. It was Aquifer Storage Recovery. Now I know that when you start talking about gray water and things like this and cleaning it up, the plant puts out, it's over 1 million gallons a month. And there are systems out there that take the water, and it's a tertiary system where this water is purified, where it's clean enough that you can drink it. And I always hear grumbles when you say that. Well, you look at the space shuttle, they just got back. Now, I don't think anybody...
Somewhat successful. If you read the restrictions, you can actually see you can water 5 days a week besides your water day by handheld or a leach system. One of the things that I would encourage the city to do with developers is have them come up with a water plan, an EDU, I believe, equivalent dwelling unit, see how much water they're going to actually use at that facility as part of the permitting process. Also encourage developers to put in drought-resistant landscaping and do those things before any permits are needed. I'm going to talk about development here when that subject comes up, but the city is, I think, in the right direction. Water is a concern, and my dad always said when we're in the middle of the ocean, he'd say water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. And I will tell you that I don't want that to be, there is no water to drink. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can take that with you. All right, Gary?
While we're developing the water well and bringing it into town, I think we also need to have discussions with planning and zoning, city council, and other groups to decide, do we want to limit and do what Charlie says, have a study each individual and see if we want to give them water or not. Or do we want to use water as a tool to get people to annex into the city? I think those kind of discussions need to take place. And like Charlie said about development, we learned that we don't want battery storage facilities. There's big data companies out there. Can we and should we develop rules to turn them away so that they can't come here? And also as far as water restrictions, I don't think we need more water restrictions. I think we need to work with the Native Plant Society and the County Ag Extension Office to get rid of some of the bad grasses and some of the things that use up a lot of water and do it more wisely.
Great, thank you very much. Tony?
We could talk water till the cows come home, I guess, and that's important. But I want you to know, I kind of keep thinking, and I asked Clinton, city manager, that we should try to retain some of this water that we're getting through here. I'm not trying to hold it all back because you got to let it go down. But we should put some kind of reservoirs out there. I remember a number of years ago, quite a few years ago, I was a young man, when they were going to do the Applewhite, I think it was called in San Antonio. They voted it down, and now they're regretting it. But that's another source of going to as far as water. I think nowadays when you sit there and talk about annexing people to get them in, as we all know, annexing, you got to be able to provide services, and sometimes that doesn't pay itself. So we need to be conscious, work on the water. We are going to get a third well, but we need to keep tabs on this.
Great, thank you, Tony. So the next question, again, was the same, as popular as the water, or a concern as the water. So the 20% of the submitted questions expressed concerns that there is too much growth and development. What is your position on this issue? And if you agree there is too much growth and development, how will you address this issue while in office? We'll start off with Tony.
Well, and that's been brought up a number of times, and to a certain degree, I agree with it. But you know the old story, if you don't grow, you're going to die. So we need to have growth within the city, and of course, there's some concerns about some of these big motels, hotels. They don't use quite the water that the residents do. Most of the water that's used in this community is used by residents, as we all know. And certainly, I'm not here to sit there. I had a lady tell me not too long ago, if I want my green lawn, I want my green lawn. She'll do it once a week, just like we do have rationing right now. But we've been doing that for a long time. I was a young man when they started Stage 4. Did you know that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Randy?
So when I think about development, I think about intentional development. The state law requires certain things with the city. If a developer comes in, we can impact height, width, colors, things of that nature. But I think about intentional development, for example. And I'll use one, actually I'll talk about some work that Planning and Zoning did recently, and there's some P&Z members in the audience here. The original development started off behind Burger King. It's kind of an elevated area there. And the original development started off with 2 cul-de-sacs. And over time, Planning and Zoning kind of removed the one development and really focused on the second one. One of our Planning and Zoning members that's in the audience tonight actually looked at it and said, you know what, we as P&Z cannot approve a cul-de-sac that's long. So the developer came back and they were upset and they said, well, we're going to build apartments. But over time, they cooled down and came back and said, okay, we're going to take that cul-de-sac, move it back to, I think it's 149 feet. I could be off a little bit, and the overall development went from probably 50 to 60 condominiums or townhomes, I guess is what it was, down to 30. And once they brought the cul-de-sac back into 149, I think it's now at 16 or 17. So I think that's an example of intentional development. It's a smaller community. The developer at the end of it thanked Planning and Zoning, who was very happy with the outcome of that. The folks that are behind them were also very happy with it. So I think that's a great example of what Planning and Zoning does with intentional development. So that's something I would look to encourage. We also have developers that want to annex into the city. That's an opportunity for conversation as well. So I won't go into that for time reasons, but I think there are things that we can do on city council to impact intentional development. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily?
So we're lucky that we have a lot of people who want to be here. We need to safeguard our community to make sure that the right people and the right businesses are coming in. And that is a definite tension point. I think Tim Lindbergh has done a great job of managing that tension. He's our economic development head that is co-funded by city and county. Other communities have the ability to take some of the sales tax that they receive and use it for economic development and other things. We do not. If we were to switch that, it would require a vote of the people, and it would raise your tax rate by a good 12 cents. I don't think anyone is going to be wanting that. Rather, we'd rather use our half-cent sales tax to go for property tax relief. So we are growing, but it is slow. It is manageable. It's about 2% every year. And, you know, if you're stuck behind a construction, you know, envoy or something, yeah, it can seem like it's bigger and more scary. But we have, you know, the development coming in compared to other towns. Like, you know, a lot of people are coming to Texas, y'all. It's that part is scary. I think it's like 1,000 people a day. City of Georgetown has grown 50% since 2020. So they are dealing with some big stuff. Now, we've got to keep up with infrastructure. We've mentioned clay pipes. You know, there's things that we need to make sure that for our residents, we are having quality water. Is our airport functioning like it should? You know, that's a county function, but we are partners with the county on a lot of things that affect both city and county residents. So there's housing. You know, we heard for a long time that there's not enough housing for people. We came from the bust of too many homes going to be short-term rentals that were starter homes for families. So now, you know, that's kind of regulated itself. We've got a lot more missing middle homes. So housing is not as bad off as it was. We also, you know, development, if you're bringing in a new industry that could support a family here, that's something to talk about. You know, is it a good fit for our community? People have been coming here for a long time, since the Adelsverein days, right? And like, I think it was Tony that mentioned, if you're not growing, you're dying. So plenty of other small towns have succumbed to a tough fate where they're just dying off. And we're lucky here, and I think we can continue monitoring that growth, whether it's through planning and zoning, through our development review committees, and just attracting new businesses here that like what we're doing and want to be a part of it.
Great. Thank you very much. Jerry.
Yeah, well, development, I mean, we're going to have it. It's here. I mean, it's taking off and it's doing that. Sometimes you need to do a moratorium. I know when the big B&B and the STRs was en route, Kathy Stafford and I, we voted for a moratorium, but we just didn't have the votes to put it in, so we could sit back and look and see where everything was going at. Where was I at? Yeah, you know, you look at the traffic in that. Try getting across Main Street or from north to south, trying to cross on 16 or Milam. What would it have been if, looked like if you tried to get, and we didn't do the upgrade on the Milam Street. There's a lot of things that we need to look at here. There's road extensions that are going to need to be done. For instance, like Cherry Street and Morris Street. You know, having some ways to get around town where you don't all have to pile onto Milam or 16. Another thing that's going to have to be revisited will be the relief route. I don't know that there's that many of the truckloads that travel from Houston to Los Angeles, and some of them carry some very toxic and explosive things. And if something was to happen on Main Street, it would devastate the town. If there was some of those things, ammonia leaks or something like that, you know, it could do a 4-mile radius around Fredericksburg. So if you can imagine that happening on Main Street, what would that shut down? So I mean, it's something that needs to be looked at. We looked at it. I was on that committee when we looked at that. We had everything going good. Everything was looking good. And then 2 of the board, out of the 3 board members got off and they hired somebody else. And these other 3 said, no, you got to have an I-10 around Fredericksburg. And that was shut down, which was not a no-brainer. Anyway, no, there's things that we need to do in this town. And I would like to see some of the things taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Charlie?
Thank you. You know, the development's going to continue here because zoning will allow it. You know, if something is zoned correctly, a developer can come in here and build what's appropriate for that through the proper permitting and going through P&Z and the staff there at City Hall to provide them with the building that should be there. The thing that I'm concerned about with development is when the city even considers property tax abatement for that developer. When I took marketing, developers have a risk and they should be rewarded for taking that risk. I'm never against profit. Profit is what capitalism is all about, what keeps, I believe, this country running. So any kind of incentives for a developer from the city, while I'm on city council, I will speak very strongly against that. We're going to talk about affordable housing after a while, and I'll visit with that as well. The other thing I'm concerned about is land. If I'm on the city council, if any property that's owned by the city, I will be very strongly opposed to giving any developers land for free. Because they're going to come in here and say, look at all the wonderful things we're going to do. We're going to increase your tax base, et cetera, except if they're not in the city limits. They might be in the ETJ. And if y'all have listened to some of the city council meeting last week, that was brought up. They're not in the city, you are not getting any tax. And I will give Emily credit. You only get 17% of that big chunk of money. So it isn't a huge amount of money. And that puts the citizens of Fredericksburg at a disadvantage. You know, and I pull out a dollar bill at that meeting, and I frankly said, it's always about the money. That's how you catch the criminals, follow the money. So as a city council member, I want to protect the purse of the citizens of Fredericksburg. Before we dig into your purse, I want to be sure we're doing everything we can to not dip in it too deep. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gary? No, Gary's up.
After it's all said and done, I think it boils down to if we know they're coming, then we have to decide, do we want them in the city where we have some control, or do we want to tell them no and push them out into the county where the county has little or no control over the issue? So I think that's the crux of the matter. They're coming. If we can't keep them there, are we better to get them in the city and try to have some controls over them, or let them go out into the county?
Thank you very much, Gary. So you are back up, Gary. So the next question is about wine tasting rooms on Main Street. Several of the members put questions in that they're stating first that there was too many tasting rooms on Main Street. Questions were, what is your position on this issue? And if you agree there are too many tasting rooms, how will you address this issue while in office? And we'll start with Gary.
I got to start that. I think there are too many, and I saw one of them that was named after me that opened up on Main Street, badass, and they were open. They were open late out in the county. At least those wineries usually shut down at 5 or 6. So now we have them on Main Street, and if all of them are going to be open till 9, more and more and more. I talked to Cliff today, and we talked about possibly using the conditional use permit process to try to control them in some manner. Maybe only so many on each street, maybe so many in total, but I don't know if we can do that. I'm not sure state law is going to allow us to do any of that. We told TABC we were open for business, and I don't know if we can limit that business.
Thank you, Gary. Tony?
I think Gary's right about the point about the wine tasting. I'm not sure what we can do to control that. I'm also concerned that I agree with him from the point we've got too many of them. But I think we're going to have a problem with legality if we try to stop it. Going back in history, you know, we had so many churches around town, but we had a bar next door for the men to go to. The women went to church. And that's true. It's not a make-up deal. So part of that deal is that the law enforcement people aren't really having trouble with the wine tasting places. It's some of the bars. And so it is something that we need to look at. And if we can control them, I would love to. But I'm not sure if for legality we can do that.
Great. Thank you very much. Randy?
Thank you, Jim. So I look around the room, I see a few people in the room that were on the 2018 visioning document that we all issued. We spent about 7 months writing this. Now, Jim, you were on there as well, and I know there's a couple of folks in the audience here. I was on family-friendly, safe environment. I helped write that along with 7 other people. We talked about Main Street as an area of concern, 6th Street, you hear that a lot. But my concern as a businessman was the only product that's going to be able to survive on Main Street based upon margin is going to be alcohol-based products. That was in 2018. So contrast 2018 to 2016, I think we were probably pretty accurate. So that is an area of concern for me. But also, I know I need to listen. So I need to listen to the business community. I need to listen to you all to find out. 2026 may be a little different in 2018 at the time when we wrote that document. So I think I would be willing to sit down, listen, and understand what are we solving for, and does that solve that problem? My concern and what I'd love to see is a healthier mix on Main Street, a healthier mix of retail, novelty shops, retailers, and clothiers on Main Street. So I'd like to see that return. I don't want us to see just become a wine tasting room after wine tasting room down on Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily?
I think we can all agree that Main Street is the jewel of our town. That's why I have it as one of my pillars that we need to have Main Street for everyone. To me, this question is about managing a tension between a laissez-faire kind of government where you just let people do what they want in their business, let the market decide, and potentially stifling our economy. We are a very prominent wine growing area of the state and the country. And then also we're battling increasingly limited authority from our state partners who are considering, they keep chipping away at what a city council, a county commission is able to do. So I think there's also a difference between a tasting room where people can go and take care of themselves and enjoy a glass of wine, and an establishment that continually overserves and does not abide by what they should be doing and overserving minors and people. So I think there needs to be a delineation there. And I think enforcement is an important aspect too. So I grew up in Shiner, Texas, home of Spetzel Brewery. We knew when TABC was in town, okay? They were an enforcement arm. That is not the way the agency runs anymore, but they shouldn't ignore our police. So whenever we continue to send them reports and then they just go unanswered, that's not okay. So I called some of my connections in Austin and I said, you need to come here and you need to meet with our people and find out like what is going on that you can't even respond to our reports. They came down, it was a good dialogue. We talked about ways that we can, help them enforce things, but they are, for lack of funding, they're more of an administrative arm now, unfortunately, back from my Shiner days. So as others have mentioned, I think there's some legal implications. We don't want to do a sledgehammer on all alcohol establishments, but I think we do need to celebrate those business owners that are giving people a quality experience and are doing things by the book instead of just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think we need a consortium of people. There needs to be business owners, employees, bartenders, locals. Like, we've got a great brain trust of people who are from here and who moved here. And we need to get people together and figure out what's a better solution than just a moratorium or a slicing away. I think we need to work on stacking small wins. We need to be a Main Street designated city. We can get funding that way. And I think we can leverage private investment with our public infrastructure and do something that's more like Fredericksburg.
Great. Thank you very much. Jerry?
Well,
Oh, Jerry.
Yep, Jerry.
you're anxious, aren't you, Charlie? Anyway, you ready for a glass of wine, huh? Anyway, you're a beer drinker. Well, the reason that there's a lot of the tasting rooms are in Fredericksburg is because the vintners can raise 15,000 gallons, and that's all they can produce. So if they open a business in town, they can do another 15,000 gallons. So that's a lot of their incentives to come into town and like this. I don't know. I drink my wine. I think there's so many vineyards between here and Johnson City. I mean, it's just, somehow there's going to be a flood in the market. And I can't see this trend keep going. How many wedding parties can there be? Anyway, no, it's a concern. You know, you have to look at the legal side of it, you know, what is allowed. I know we did, years back, we did a chain on Main where, you know, if a business had more than three businesses, that they couldn't be on Main Street. That's why you don't see a McDonald's downtown and a bunch of these other type of establishments. The chains on Main is good. P&Z, I know, I see Tom and Tim out there, and they'll keep you on your toes there. They're not going to let anything happen that, yeah, we have good people that take care of our town, and we just have to look at how to do that. I think there's going to be some wineries or vineyards going out of business, and I think it's kind of like the antiques. You know, we went through the antique spell there, and there was other deals where everything was just taken off, and pretty soon everybody wanted a piece of the pie, and pretty soon it was over flooded, and then it just kind of burned out. But yeah, we have to look at the legal aspects of it and what can be done and what can't be done. That's it.
Thank you. Charlie.
Thank you. You know, what brings these folks to Fredericksburg, you know, I can almost see on Facebook or any other social media, magazines, Fredericksburg, Texas, the wine country of Texas. So, you know what, we're getting a lot of exposure. Come to Texas, come to Fredericksburg and drink wine. So, you know, it's going to continue to happen. I'll share a story back probably 1981 or 82. We had a bench in front of the Exxon station. You could sit there and enjoy the day and visit. Well, I had a gentleman show up, and he said, we just love coming to Fredericksburg. I said, really? I said, I don't get it. I said, I go places, not very often, but I like to go somewhere new. He says, let me ask you a question. How often have you been to the malls in in San Antonio? I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 times. He says, well, that's what you have here. You have an outdoor shopping mall. It wasn't by design, but fast forward, look what all your malls are. So, law of diminishing return. As more and more of these open up, some of them are going to go. And I took marketing and law of diminishing return. There was a football player in there, and he couldn't understand it. You know, it was talking about building a high-rise building. Now, where does it not become feasible to go any higher? You couldn't understand that. So, well, how would you like an ice cream cone? Yeah, that'd be good. Eat it. How would you like the second one? Well, that'd be good too. How about the third or fourth? Oh, I love them. I could eat them all day long. So you never, ever get tired of eating a snow cone or ice cream cone? No, well, you don't understand law of diminishing returns then, because it just isn't going to work for you. Anyway, he was an Aggie, but he was a great football player. He wasn't very smart, but, you know, that's okay. So, yeah, you know, and we also learn last in is the first one out. And I agree with Tony, you know, back when I was a kid growing up, we had more beer joints than churches. And that's a true statement. I don't know if they were right next to the church, but I guarantee you they weren't far away. They eventually went, now we have more churches than beer joints. So we're transitioning. And at some point in time, those things will go down. It's just like short-term rentals. We're seeing less and less of them. So property rights is important. You own a building on Main Street, I think you have a right to recoup your investment. I would hope that somehow, and I don't think it's the purview of state law or city, can we actually do something that has a product mix on the historical district of downtown? I'd like to take a look at that and have our legal on our city give us some direction on that. Thank you.
So, Charlie, you're still up.
No, goodness.
We have one more question for each of the candidates. The topic is emergency preparedness. After the fire last March and the catastrophic floods across the Hill Country last July, what are your plans to build up our ability to handle future crises that will strain our emergency response resources?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. I want to share you, I was the mayor of Fredericksburg when we had the big ice storm. I got to see the emergency management team come together. Law enforcement, medical, fire, state officials, et cetera, Central Texas Electric, they were in the command center, and the activity in there was unbelievable, them trying to get control of all the issues that were happening in the ice storm. They were able to secure a helicopter for Central Texas to actually fly the lines out in the county to determine where those lines were down. So there is a coordinated event there. I will tell you that I am the first one to tell you that fire truck, that emergency vehicle will not run without the personnel trained to run it. As a city council member, and Jerry will attest to this, we were having a council meeting one time, we were talking about an extra ambulance. There was some controversy about, do we want to fund it? I said, look, if I'm flopping on the street, I want somebody to come get me, okay? And we approved that. So yes, we need to get the equipment, we need to prepare, and we need to train and retain personnel to do that. Fires, I think you saw a wonderful camaraderie amongst the outside agencies, the Stonewall, the Willow City, probably Lano showed up. So that's what it's all about, community, letting everybody know you need help. So yes, it's very important for those emergency services. Hope we never have to use them, but I want to be sure they're there when we do need them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Charlie. Gary?
Well, I hope the state wakes up after what happened with the floods last year. I believe the city and the county working together, we'll have to talk about that at the next budget meeting and try to find some dollars if the state won't, and put that towards what Charlie said, funding the people and the equipment to be better able to respond to whatever happens.
Thank you very much. Tony?
If you're not aware, and you should, the county and the city have hired a new emergency management director. She's doing a great job. She's just come to work, 2 or 3 months ago. She's putting things together, and she's got a lot of experience, so we're pretty excited about it. If you hadn't heard, I know the counties hadn't, we had a presentation. The state is providing some additional weather reporting in our area. I think Texas Tech, I hate to admit that, but Texas Tech is preparing a program which will help us to determine the water and the rain, better forecast, and so that certainly should help. Pedernales River isn't like the Guadalupe. We don't have the big high mountains by the river, so we don't have quite that, but they've been looking at it, and so it's important. But I'm pretty happy with the point that during the fire my support has always been make sure our police officers, our sheriff department, and our EMS people, fire department, are taken well care of. So that's been one of my highlights that I have put out every year. We need to make sure we have them on force, and we're very happy and proud to have what we do have. But something to say is that they're on top of it, they're looking at it. We can't predict these, 20 inches of rain in a few hours. I know I lived in St. Marcos years ago. We had 18 inches of rain. Well, it went around my house and down to the house below me. So you can't prepare for that until you see it.
Thank you very much. Randy?
So when I think about emergency preparedness, you can talk about equipment and so forth. I think it starts with people. It starts with our people. So we need to retain our people. When I came on the council, I found out that 16 police officers had left the city of Fredericksburg for a variety of reasons. Some live in Kendall County or Kerrville or wherever the case is, but we lost 16. We only have 35 officers in the city of Fredericksburg right now, so we lost almost half of our staff within a 6-year period. So I sat down with Chief Vorhauer and I said, well, what can we do? We're at a higher pay scale than neighboring counties. You can play this stair-step game where you go up by $1,000 every year and play that game. But I started thinking, what is the stickiest thing we can do? Chief Vorhauer had the vision. He gets all of the credit for starting the Police Foundation. So he went out and started that, and it's an organization that holds funds at the state level. He can petition to have money released for various projects and so forth. I went out and found a third party to donate $150,000 for the police, fire, and EMS. So at this point in time, the Police Foundation have now received the $50,000. The first police officer has received his keys. He now has a home in Fredericksburg. He's not driving from Kendall County anymore. He's now in our hometown. So that first officer now has a home here in Fredericksburg. That's a huge win for us. The police department now has enough money to fund it, 2 additional individuals So we'll now have 3 police officers and their families living in Fredericksburg, Gillespie County. It's required, Gillespie County, that will hopefully take place by the end of this year. I talked to Chief Bizzle at the last city council meeting because we also helped queue that up. And I said, Chief, where are you? Are you on the 5-yard line? He said, Randy, we're on the 1-yard line. We're going to get that across the line. We'll have all of our funding information approved, and we have $100,000 sitting in the coffers right now for fire and EMS. So now the same thing applies. These guys can come in, apply for it. They have to commit for 5 years of good standing service to our community, and that grant is then forgiven, if you will. But this is a way to retain our people, and we're not chasing them down the road for a $1,000, $2,000 pay raise. It starts with our people. I want our first responders to be our neighbors, our friends, go to our churches, go to our schools. I want them to live here and not just be city employees. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Emily?
So when it comes to emergency preparedness, we saw the crabapple fire. That was terrifying. I was grabbing stuff out of my parents' house trying to figure out what needed to go in case the fire got that close, and I don't recommend that experience for anyone. We've got the floods and the help that we provided Kerrville and Comfort and surrounding communities, but we also have potential for mass casualty accidents along Main Street. And whenever the freeze happened, was it in 21, 22? We didn't have a CERT team. That's an emergency response team. And that's volunteers in the community who can help support our first responders. That is something that Ashley Morris, our new emergency management coordinator, is super dialed in on. She's been, if y'all don't already follow her, please follow her on Instagram. She's got the Fredericksburg Gillespie County Emergency Management handle, and she's hosting webinars on, fire safety and how to do prescribed burns correctly. We've got to have a community of people. So she went down, she'd just been hired, and she went down to the Christmas parade and was just observing, where do we have blockades? Where is it safe? Where do we need some help? So she's super dialed in on that. And I was honored to be on the decision-making team that hired her along with the county. And she's top-notch. And the storm ready designation, she's on it for, there's rural fire department grants from the state is an opportunity there. And the police foundation, that's held at the community foundation in Kerrville, same for fire EMS, and private donations are great, and that's why we need y'all. Our job, though, is to appropriate funds to police, to fire EMS. And in 2023, Randy's first year on council, he said, well, I can't vote for a tax rate increase my first year. Like, sometimes you gotta make the hard decisions. So you've gotta look at all the data. We hadn't even looked at the data yet. So it's very important to lead and be okay with making hard decisions if it's gonna benefit our community. Thank you.
Can I respond to that? Yes.
So let me respond to that. I actually have the numbers from that. Our police department, the year I voted for the lower tax rate, increased double digits, 15%, and I have the data to show that. Fire went up by 5%. We bought 7 squad cars, 2 ambulance replacements. The next year it went up close to 30%, and again, I have the data to show that. The time it dropped the lowest amount was this calendar year, fiscal year, when I was off council. It's a single digit, I think it's 5 or 6% increase for police. So check the numbers. That's the accuracy. I'm not going to accept somebody saying we took the police down during my tenure. That simply is not true.
Can I rebut that? Okay. Can you also talk about how you say you worked with the school district and the county to lower our taxes when that is not what happened? It was a combined effort because their taxes went down, ours went up. You can't own that. It's the over 65 exemption thing. That was not you, that was the state.
The county and the FISD were independent of us. So I had nothing to do with that.
Right, your website says differently.
All right, continuing on to Jerry.
Well, when I was on council, we always wanted to make sure that our people that responded were funded with equipment and everything else. Retaining employees is another thing. It has to be a city-county process here. The response times in Fredericksburg are real good. Response times further out, Dawes, Harper, and those areas are a lot longer. And I asked Garrett Bunn about, why don't we have a better ambulance in Harper or something like that. Usually when we got a new ambulance, we took that ambulance to like Harper or Dawes. I think we have it in Dawes, I don't know. But anyway, they would have that, but Garrett said the main problem there is finding help. It's real hard to find help. I had our neighbor up there, his son worked over in Kerrville as policeman, and he went to San Angelo because he got a $15,000 a year raise, so he's making $90,000. He got a $10,000 bonus incentive to go there. He got a great health insurance and everything else. So anyway, but the response time is good in Fredericksburg, but we need to work with the county in order to develop services that are outside the county. The forestry service is out by the airport. They have the property out there, and they're going to develop a staging point there. So response times in the hill country is going to be a lot better over there. They're going to put up buildings and all that so they can get in and out of, Fredericksburg and get the surrounding county areas better. And if the city does need, or they do need more help, they also ask for help from Willow City, Dawes, Mason, Atlanta. It's a combined working together. But the main thing is we got to figure out some incentives in order to get employees to be able to live here. They just don't want to work 2 and 3 jobs all their life. They want to go out and party too, and maybe have a glass of wine on Main Street too if it has to. But they just don't want to work all the time. Anyway, no, I guess that's all. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Jerry. So we're going to be moving to the city council questions zone, city council candidates questions, and the first one we'll start off with Jerry. It has to do with attainable housing. Now, just for all you to know that it's interesting, from 2020 to 2024, the GDP in Gillespie County grew over 40%. So our economy is still growing, and that years of 21 and 22, we were growing at a 16 to 18% clip. It dropped down to about 5% in 2024, so our economy is still growing. So the question is attainable housing. So many of our employees live outside Gillespie County. Do you have an answer to, should we have more employees living in our city and county or work here? And how do we address attainable housing? So Jerry, you're up first.
Well, God, you gave me the worst one of all of them. Affordable housing, I mean, it's, how do you, we had the Luckenbach apartments over there, and we always kept our rates real low, and we had more retirement people in there too, and we kind of figured, well, if they stay in the apartments long enough, they'll grow old enough, and they'll just come into the nursing home. So that was a good concept. But we always kept our rent down. We were almost the lowest ones in town because, we were a family business, and we were more involved in the nursing home business at that point. How do you get builders to come in and give them incentives? When I was on council, there was a unit that went over off of Highway Street there, and a beautiful plan. We looked at it, and we said, man, this is great looking apartments and all this other stuff. So we approved it, and we thought they were going to do like 80% towards affordable housing. Well, when it came right down to it, all they had to do was provide 20%. So, I mean, the developers that are coming in and doing on these projects here, they kind of bug the hell out of me. What's happening is these guys are coming in, and they're not using our contractors here. They're not using this materials from our building supplies here and things like this. They're bringing in their own people here, and they're doing a lot of their work with other people from outside of the city of Fredericksburg. And we need to be supporting the people who have been here and have been taking care of Fredericksburg all these years.
Thank you very much. Charlie?
When I first got on the council, I asked somebody to give me a definition of workforce attainable, and housing. And well, first of all, there's probably some of these folks who don't want to live in Fredericksburg, so let's eliminate a little percentage of those. I do believe affordable housing has been addressed by the market, and that's what's occurred. And I'm going to just speak, and I know you may hear some things about Lennar Homes, good, bad, or indifferent. They're building them now. They're not a member. I'm a realtor. They're not a member of our MLS, so I cannot tell you exactly what their homes are selling for. But I did see on their website they do have some homes under $300,000, and from what I understand, they're in that $330,000 to $330,000 range. They offer wonderful deals, first-time buyers, down payment, et cetera, et cetera. Now, they're in a mud, so the people that live there are going to have to pay an extra dollar, if you want to call it, in property tax that they live there, and I hope they're aware of that. So they've done that. And you also have, on our MLS, you have a total of, let me be sure I got it right. There are 16 homes in Gillespie County currently under $300,000. Now, they might be manufactured homes. There might be some that are going to blow down in the next windstorm. I don't know. And there are some here actually inside the city limits, 4 of them that are currently under $300,000. So are there opportunities here for attainable workforce housing? I think there probably could be. Maybe there isn't. Now, again, I'd be the first one will not approve or would strongly speak against any tax abatements for a developer to come in here and do affordable, attainable housing. We had one approach the city before, and when they talked about the rent, and I got to admit, some of the questions were definitely asked by the council members, what's your rent structure going to be? And I believe, I might be corrected, please do if I'm wrong, I think they said anywhere from $1,200 to $1,600 depending on the square footage of the apartment. So it's out there, folks. People can move here. Look at the apartments that are being built. And I will tell you, you can go to any town, any city in this state, I won't say any city, but the ones I've been to, hire, looking for help, looking for help, looking for help. It isn't a common problem here in Fredericksburg, Texas. It's a common problem throughout our area. People either don't want to work here, they don't want to live here. Is it affordable housing the only hat? And we hired 2 consultants when I was on council, well, one for sure, and I wasn't for the second one, spent thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire these folks. Their final conclusion was it needed some kind of government help to attain affordable, attainable housing here. It's coming out of your pocketbooks. I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take that back. Gary?
I agree with everything Charlie said. It's just one of the facts of life here. I work at the Admiral Nimitz Foundation, and we have over 30% of our people who drive in from Kerrville and Bernie and other places. It's just a tough question, and high property values, high mortgage rates, 20% down. I don't see any answers other than encouraging more apartments, and other than that, it would take federal and state involvement. I'm not in favor of the city doing what Charlie said he was in favor of. No tax incentives or anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
I think it was about 3 years ago, if I remember, Randy and I actually met with the lady that wanted to put some affordable housing over on Eagle Street, kind of over there by Tom Musselman's place. And when we asked her what the rate was going to be, she says, well, $1,300 a month for a single. And I said, wait a minute, you can get one right across from HEB for $1,000. They disappeared, never came back. So it wasn't going to work. My deal is I've got a single daughter in Bernie. She's got the same problem. So it's not just Fredericksburg. They called it president of the Chamber of Commerce in '93, but actually, I guess chairman now. But we tried to work on that, and it's been going on for 30 some odd years. We started off where we hoped we'd get a house for $170,000. It never happened. You couldn't get the locals. I'm sorry to say, you've got a development out here off Friendship Lane. As they mentioned, those people are coming from out of town, and they are selling houses over there. And I know I've had a couple of employees that have bought them for $330,000. They consider that affordable right now. Apartments, we came on with, what, about 800 new apartments this year? There's no vacancies. They've been gobbled up, and there'll be more coming in. But unfortunately, if you can get an apartment, and I think there are some still available here for $1,000 a month for one bedroom, but that's what they consider affordable. I don't think you can find a house or any rent in the city for less than $1,000 that you'd want to live in.
Thank you very much. So one more question. We'll start off with Tony, and that has to do with youth facilities. As a city council member, will you support using city funds to invest in youth facilities? And please share if you will support or why not. We'll start off with Tony.
Well, I addressed the affordable housing, right? Is that the next question?
Yeah, we're on this question here right now.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Youth facilities, I had 4 kids grow up here. I grew up here. I've heard that for years about we have nothing to do. Of course, the main thing they're all doing is right now getting on that phone, which is terrible. But my kids were involved with 4-H, FFA, football, basketball, baseball. So they got involved. And I think it's important for the parents to get their kids involved. Why should we have to put money out? I don't disagree with our parks, and we just recently, of course, did an open house on the tennis and the pickleball court. So they're trying to do more and more. But, you know, my kids grew up here, I grew up here, and I've heard that forever, that what are we going to do for the kids? Well, it's important for the parents to get their kids involved.
Thank you. Jerry?
Well, I tell you what, this is one too. You look around, when I was growing up, we played baseball in the street, and we had to go over to the lot across the street and mow a diamond so we could play baseball. We had one baseball field here in town on Market Plots. We had one swimming pool. You know, you look around now, I mean, we've given the kids, we've given them tennis courts, we've given them, there's pickleball, there's a ton of baseball. Dan's done a hell of a job with the soccer on the soccer fields. There's soccer fields everywhere. We have a skate park that was designed by one of the top individuals and rated it higher, very high. Basketball, baseball fields, we got there. Every campus has something on it, a soccer field or something. You know, the kids have enough to do. And last week we had a Lions Club meeting. We had the Boy Scouts come to it, and the counselor or the whatever you want, what are they called? The head of their. Well, anyway, they came there and they were promoting the Lions Club. Well, he said the kids that we get there, they don't have their phone. They go out there and they're climbing trees or they're doing something. He said if we're anywhere close to water, the kids are out there fishing and doing something else. They're not on their phone. And this is the thing. I think we've given the kids a whole lot to do. You have Piney Museum, you have Nimitz. Tell the kid to go to a nursing home and sit down with some of those old people, man. I tell you what, they had a ton of knowledge, and they got some funny stories too. But I mean, you know, they never had any of that, and how they got to school, how they got to town. I mean, how they lived. It was a pleasure. 38 years I was around it, and I loved every minute of it. I guess I ought to shut up. But anyway, no, I think we're giving the kids a lot to do. And, you know, ride bike, go right around the cemetery at night. Hey, that was cool. You know, there's a lot there's a lot the kids can do. They just can't sit on that damn phone. You know, it's parents need to get out and they need to help take care of their kids. So. And if we didn't do anything right, by the time we got home after 9 or 10 o'clock, Dad was at the door, and it was razor time. So anyway, but no, it was fun, and we took it with a grain of salt.
Thank you very much. Fun. Thank you. Charlie?
You know, I'm a big proponent of youth, and I like to call them rugrats, and I hope no one's offended by that. When I was growing up here, there was I was at St. Mary's, 35 kids in school. I think the population at the high school might have been 120, 130 people. We've got more rugrats of all ages, and I'm talking about all ages living in our community today. And they're not only living inside the city of Fredericksburg, we're all county residents, so we have a lot of kids coming in from Harper, Stonewall, the Doss area, and that's what a community is. It's just not us. It's a community of all of us. So I'm a big proponent of parks, and I'm also a big proponent of keeping parks at the stellar condition that they're in. And my grandkids, when we're here, we enjoy the park at the Mark Potts, Fairgrounds Park. We enjoy them. We take the nature trail. So there are things out there. I don't disagree. There are things out there. But you know what? When these baseball teams, et cetera, when they want to practice and everything, there is a lack of facilities for softball, baseball practice. Okay. I want to thank the soccer people for doing what they did. I want to thank the morning Rotary Club for doing exactly the things Jerry talked about over there at Fair Park. I mean, if you go over there, there's a lot of things for those kids to do. Even I go over there and kick the ball against the thing that lights up, or the thing where I'm colorblind, so I don't do very well on the color deal. And then, of course, the racquetball court. People, the private people have come and have helped the citizens of Fredericksburg and the county. What I would like to do is not let the park budget get axed like it usually does at the end of a budget. They're the ones that take the meat off the bone. We can't do this at the park because we need to do this. Some of the things we're doing is maybe not for the citizens. So that's, again, I'm running for 3 C's, citizen, common sense, and community. So I'm telling you right now, all right, if I'm on this council, I'm going to be a strong proponent of keeping that park at the high standards that it is. And I want to work with the public and the private to enhance what we have. We have land. We did a bond and we didn't pass. I respect that for a sports park. Now we have land next to the old Turner Hall that just sits there. One thing I would like to see planned there, Bobby, an extension of the splash pad. And I want to give the Morning Rotary Club special membership there at the town pool is way up. Where before I drive by there was like 4 or 5 kids. Now the mamas are bringing the little rugrats, and the bigger rugrats can be at the city pool. So I'm a proponent of parks. I'm a proponent of people being out and enjoying the fresh air. And if we give more opportunities for them to do that, I will be a strong proponent for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gary?
I'm in agreement with Charlie. I'm grateful to all the private-public partnerships that we have. That's been great. But our last attempt at parks failed in 2017, and I believe it's time to get back to supporting the parks and supporting our youth. And so I would be in favor of, within the next 2 years, taking a hard look at trying to get some of this back on another bond issue.
Great. Thank you, Gary. So we're going to move on to the last 2 questions for the mayor candidates. First question's going to be, we'll start with Emily. What actions will you take to diversify our economy and reduce our reliance on tourism?
This is a fun question. I'm all about diversifying our economy. We have built an economy on tourism. So we have to be careful not to, kill the goose that laid the golden egg. But we can talk data, we can talk numbers, but I want to talk to y'all about the feel of what it is, what drives our economy here. We are a place where people want to live and people want to visit. And that is really awesome. Come to a baseball game, Little League Baseball, on a Saturday morning. This is what was going on. You've got small businesses that are sponsors for these kids, and their names are on the backs of their jerseys. You've got siblings off of their phones cheering on their little brothers and sisters that are playing. You've got people on the home team cheering on the visitor team because that was a really good hit for a 7-year-old. The cheering, the high fives, the hugs, don't you want to be a part of that? Those moments are so crucial and something that we need to celebrate more. And so how can we make it to where those parents can have jobs here so that they can actually go to the game and they aren't working 3 jobs? I mean, these are things that we can be ancillary. We've been talking about this for a long time, but yes, we have a big tourism, hospitality industry, but what can we do that's alongside that? We've got fun things to do here, but can we increase the depth of that? We've got Pioneer Museum, we've got the Nimitz, we've got Fort Martin Scott. The Texas Historical Commission is going to be wonderful at telling the story of the first U.S. Army fort in Texas. There are things we can do little by little, incremental, that will make sense for what Fredericksburg is and what we're about. And I think that's something that is super important and worth fighting for.
Thank you very much. Randy?
Thank you. When I think about the economy, I go back to my experience, and I've worked with Hilton corporately. I've worked with Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, Dillard's, and a few other things. So I know hospitality, and I know retail from an operational standpoint. There are 4 things these folks really worry about, and they stay awake at night thinking about. It's real estate, right? Where are they going to have their store? It's the cost of goods. What are they going to buy? It's labor, and it's supply chain. And supply chain is hugely impacted by macroeconomics, price of oil, things of that nature. So I think about what can city council do relative to helping with that. It probably is more focused around the labor component of that. So I'd want to do a little bit more work around that space. Going back in time, we're discussing the different types of businesses that we would want to move in. We have a pretty disparate economic system here. We have folks in the lower class, and we have some very wealthy people. So I really look at the middle market as probably, I call it gray collar, if you will. And so you think about companies like software companies. I was personally involved with a software company moving from Houston, Texas, up to the airport, and they're in the process of getting approval plans to build an office and now move their corporate offices up here. That is a low-impact, high-skilled job that comes to Fredericksburg. I think that's an ideal thing we'd like to see. Light manufacturing, skills-based, welders, things of that nature. I think those are things that are really important to me, and it doesn't cannibalize from our retailers on Main Street. We have to be real careful that we don't bring industry in here that harms our retail industry. So what I would want to do is work with the chamber and with Tim as well at the EDC is build a business plan. What do we want to go after? Who do we want to go after? What makes sense? And make a mindful decision to do that. So I believe that's the right direction.
Thank you very much. So Randy, you're still up. So the last question for the mayoral candidates, how will you ensure all residents are heard and represented?
Great question. So I view City Council really as City of Fredericksburg actually as a $79 million business. And I view the position of mayor as the chairman of the board, and the council members are board members, and we are responsible to you, the shareholders, to return excellent services for your investment of your tax dollars. That's kind of how I view it. The mayor is also the spokesperson for the town, so who can communicate well, and who can represent our city well. So those are other elements to think about. So I think about being available, being a present and available mayor. I'm retired at this point, so I can dedicate 40 hours to this. Don't tell my wife that, please. My daughter's here. But that's something I can really put forward a lot of effort into. If you go back to Coffee with the City Manager for the past three and a half years, I've been to almost every single one. Town halls, HOA meetings, things of that nature. So I believe being a visible, present, and available mayor is important. Tim Krenwalge, I don't think he's here. Did I just run out?
Okay. Go a little bit longer.
Okay. Tim had a thing called Mayor Mondays. I think that's a great idea, so I would also look to probably copy that, and that would be available to either one individual to talk about something important or an HOA that's talking about rain runoff from the industrial complex. So I would probably look to implement Mayor Mondays as another way to provide availability to the audience and to the congregation here.
Thank you. Emily?
Government is a weird thing, and government is different at local, state, federal levels. And I've got folks that are very comfortable calling me and emailing me often. There are people who would prefer to reach out on social media. There are people who would prefer to bash me on rants and raves. So, take your pick. I think that we need to be available to everyone. So whether that's coffee with the city manager, the town halls, both things that Clinton has implemented recently and has gotten acclaim for that with the International City Managers Association. I think we need to be better about having a rhythm of review for our ordinances that would help reduce some of the ambiguity. Because so many times you'll hear about something, there'll be a public notice, and you'll be like, what? We have a what? But if there's a structure and there's a schedule to this is the season for when we look at these ordinances again. I think that would help a lot. We've got a lot of leadership Gillespie County folks that are up here on the stage, and that is a wonderful way to get information to people who care about our community and are involved in our community. And I mean, my cell phone, we've got cell phones and emails that are on the website, but like I said, that doesn't always gel with everyone. There's something I instituted with my work. So I do have a full-time job, but there's a lot of overlap with the mayor's meetup that I created last year. We meet quarterly, and it's Hill Country mayors in the 17 county area that get together and talk about issues that matter to them. It might be transportation one month. It might be, local control issues that are being dwindled away at the state level. This week, we have our state representatives coming in town to Dripping Springs, where I'm hosting it, and we're going to have mayors from all over, and they're going to have an audience with their state reps and state Senate staff. And that matters a lot. Something I instituted with our, whenever I worked at the state, was advisory councils. Getting together, it doesn't have to be long, not just another meeting, but if we're seeing problems with community services or education or transportation or parks, let's gather some people that care about those issues, have expertise in those issues. Let's meet, let's figure out a solution, and then let's present that to council in a way, because we can't all be everywhere at the same time. So there are very creative ways and easy ways that we can make sure we're being responsive to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. So we are a little ahead of schedule, so we do have time to take a question from the audience if anybody has a burning question out there. If you please come down, we have a microphone down here to ask the question.
Can I just shout it?
Sure.
All right. It's great to see so much passion for individuals who want to be involved in the city of Fredericksburg. How can you convert that or encourage more individuals who are in a working age to start their involvement, whether it's going to be on city council or other committee areas? There are opportunities for individuals to grow within the city government.
So just to summarize, so the question is, how do we get more people involved in government and in the community? Okay. So, well, we'll start off. I think we'll finish with the mayor candidates. We'll start with Gary.
Well, I think there are leadership classes. There's Fredericksburg University. I think that's what it calls Citizen University. Just attending and becoming involved. I think those are some ways that you can get more involved.
Jerry?
Well, there's a lot of churches. I mean, just going to the churches have a lot going on. Another thing is you have Andrea and Jennifer who are with the parks department. And I tell you what, those two girls do a fantastic job there. And if you want to find something to do, they will definitely find you something to do. It's out there. I mean, just yell. Go out on Main Street and just yell on Main Street. I want something to do. But no, they're go with the city there. City manager. I mean, it's out there. Churches are a good place to look. Whatever. Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
You ready?
I'm ready. Hey, back a few years ago, myself, Joe Kamla, and Larry Neville started Gillespie County Leadership, which has been a very successful program, as many of you know. That's a way to get in and get in the door and get your list out there. Unfortunately, some people have, I still remember being president of a club in San Marcos and getting up, and I had a child, but I took that child with me to the meeting at 6:30 in the morning and then take them on to school. So it can be done. Unfortunately, there's a lot of younger people, and we try to get them more involved. I'm a member of the Rotary Club, Optimist Club. We are getting some younger members. We had a meeting today. I'm a nooner. I'm not a morning Rotarian. And so we talked about trying to get some new members in. We've got like 85 members, but we need some young people. And, they talked about today about getting on your phone and start calling people, because everybody's got lists of phones. But we very much need the younger generation start stepping up.
Thank you very much. Charlie?
Yeah, thank you. I think being in my current position, I'm out on that street a lot. I'm meeting a lot of people. You got to ask, can you help with something? That's the biggest part is you're afraid to ask. And getting to know is okay. Getting to know is okay. So, we have organizations like the Optimist Club. They're very much youth-oriented, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job. I had a neighbor one time, he said, most unfriendliest town in Fredericksburg, the most unfriendliest town in Texas. How's that? I don't know anybody. I said, well, how did you meet me? He said, well, you walk your dog. Fine. I said, are you active in your church? Are you active in a social? No. I said, they're not going to hug you and love you, so you got to be involved. Raise your hand. If you got rugrats, there's a great opportunity to get involved with your children and the youth. Get them going. That's where I got started. I was little. I got active, did some things in town, and that was because I had adults giving me direction on that, being role models. So that's all up to all of us to be great role models for these children. We're the ones that can begin that. Years and years ago when I was in high school and these respected old-timers when you're young, they say, you know what? You're our future. And I look at them, I go, oh, you guys are in trouble. And we turned out okay. So when I look at the youth today, they're my future, they're your future, and we're going to be okay. We really will be okay. There's going to be some that aren't okay, but, overall we're going to be okay. We are the ones that have to start that process. All of us right here. Encourage your kids, encourage your grandchildren. I hate to say it, love and hug them every day because you know what? It's a great feeling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Emily?
Thank you for the question. It matters a lot. Our town was built on volunteering, and the fabric of our town is because, we're successful because so many people give hours and hours under the radar, not broadcast, to keep things running, whether it's Rotary or coaching Little League or, volunteering with arts. We're richer because of our volunteers. Now, we also need to reach out. It's hard. I know it's hard to just cold call or show up at a meeting when you don't know anyone. But if you have extended the invitation to someone, and so I'm counting on all of y'all who are super involved to reach out, think through your Rolodex in your mind of people that would be good in your club, in your organization. Whenever I moved here, I contacted all of City Council. I just kind of wanted to get to know them, get to know the mayor. No one called me back. I'm not going to out all the other organizations that I also contacted that never called me back. But later, I applied for planning and zoning. I reached out to all of City Council. Only Kathy responded to me and met me for coffee and got to know me, and then recommended me, I guess, for council to appoint me to planning and zoning. We have a pipeline of younger families, green people who aren't well-versed in government, who care about this place and want to get involved. And we need to build a pipeline. I got to serve on planning and zoning with Tim and Tom. I learned a ton from them. There are decades of institutional knowledge on these boards. So serving through boards is something near and dear to my heart. But also Citizen University, that's something that our former city secretary initiated, and Letty has taken and run with it. And it's a thriving program. City and county residents can come and learn about the nuts and bolts of city government. So just reach out. Cold call, be okay with that, but then also everyone here reach out to people. Thanks.
Randy?
In the private sector, looking to mentor was always a part of our job description. So I was always looking who else in the chain of command is somebody that I can pick up and pull up into the organization. I was always looking to find that person that was going to replace me. So it's kind of in my DNA. The reason I gravitated to Citizens University so much, and I'm the only council member that went there for 18 months consecutively. I think I missed one time for vacation. I got in front of the audience, and there's some of the members here in the audience right now. I can see them. I viewed it as an incubator for that next step, whatever that board, commission, ZBA, all of those types of things. So I always encourage them to look at beyond Citizens University. Once you graduate, what is that thing? And I think I saw Scott in the audience as well. I said, Scott, if you're excited about something, he wants to serve. He goes to my church as well. He wants to do something, wasn't sure what. I said, let's get into Citizen University. You'll have 12 months to go through everything, and coming out of that, you're going to find something you're really passionate about. So Scott's a great example, and we didn't cue that up, by the way. Another one is when I was coming off Gillespie County Historical Society, I spent 3 years. So history and preservation of our town and culture is incredibly important to me. When I was coming off of it, I reached out to a young lady, and I'm not going to say name or ages anymore because I get in trouble, but Lauren Smith was here, and I called her because she is just a little dynamo of energy and ideas. And I said, Lauren, I'm coming off of here. I think you do an amazing job replacing me on the board of directors. She said she was excited. The board was excited. They brought her on. You've now been in place for 3 months, give or take a little bit. So Lauren's an example of what I talk about, mentoring and bringing her up, or whoever that person might be, whether it's Scott. But that's something that's in my DNA, and I'll continue to do that as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So Tony, I want to give a little plug to LGC, Leadership Gillespie County. So he was in the first class, so I know how old you are. But we found in our archives, we found a picture of you at the retreat. And ladies, he has some nice legs. But joking aside, it's a great institution, a great for our community, and we will be taking applications in June for the next class. All right, let's do our wrap up, our closing remarks. We're going to start with Jerry, and you have 10 minutes, sir.
Boy,
2
10 minutes.
2 minutes.
You said 10.
2.
I don't have enough written down here then. Jeez.
Careful. 10 minutes total for y'all.
Well, I just wanted to say, going back, one instructor told us you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. So anyway, just sitting here listening, there's some great ideas out here. I mean, I don't have any problem with anybody up here. When we built our businesses, we didn't ask for any incentives. We built it all on our own. We built our business on our own, and we need to support our local community members and businesses while maintaining our historic identity. These are the people who have built this town and made it the special place it is. So we need to support them. Another thing is, one thing that's coming up is I pay county taxes, I pay city taxes, pay quite a bit. But anyway, we need to get with the county more and then start utilizing the county and see if we can't get them to put in more money in our facilities and some of the things in Fredericksburg. If we didn't have market plots or a Nimitz Center or a Pioneer Museum, when would the county be, what would they be, how would they be getting their income or their revenue? We need to do that. You want to talk about getting to know people and things like this? Clinton Bailey with the city manager here, he has a coffee with the city manager. It's a great thing to go to. If you have any questions, he'll have the people there to answer your questions. He does a great job on that. Our tax rates are the lowest tax rates in the area. We compare ourselves like Bernie, Kerrville, Marble Falls, and Liberty Hill. And comparing the reason our taxes are so low is because our debt is so low. So the city has done a phenomenal job of utilizing what we had and making our city better. We need to keep up our infrastructure. I would going back to this thing with places. I would rather see businesses get into the city limit because then we can control the water and the sewer and a lot of the infrastructure. When they're out in the county, we just had one business out there drill 3 wells and they were not even permitted for the things. So there's things that it's good to get them in the city, but somehow we got to slow down. It's just getting a heck of a lot.
Thank you, Jerry. Charlie?
Yeah, again, thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, and if there's any kiddos out there for coming in to listen to the council members and the 2 candidates for mayor. It's been very entertaining and very educational. I am running because I'm for the citizens, common sense, and the community, and I will share with you, if you text me You call me, you come by my office, invite me to come visit you, I will be there. I heard your frustration. How many times have you all called a service person and they never call you back? Very frustrating. I would say my time on city council, if I didn't hit 100%, I was probably in the high 99%. I think it's important. People are important. The citizens of Fredericksburg are important. So you can be assured if you do any of those communication process, and I agree, how do you want to be communicated to? I'm available. I am currently a realtor, but I have the time and the flexibility to put in every hour I need to. I think my track record of attendance at P&Z and also when I was on city council and on the school board is probably in the high 95 percentile. Okay. I will ask you to support me, to vote for me, ask your family and friends to do as well. This is an important election for our citizens. We're a growing community, and again, I think it's very important. I'm a people person. I think that's the most important part of an organization. I know there's a hierarchy, but really when it boils down to, it's the citizens of that city that are the most important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gary?
I guess you noticed I don't have the gift of gab like these other guys. But if elected, I do intend to listen to the citizens, to listen to the city staff, to listen to the various appointed boards like P&Z and Historic Review Board and other organizations. City council members are representatives of the citizens. I won't forget that. I have the experience and I have the know-how. Now all I need is your vote.
Thank you, Gary. Tony?
I'd like for 1 minute to at least address, and I'm not sure if Mayor Hoover is here, but he and Emily and I started this 4 years ago. He was a great leader. I have to admit that hats off to Gerald Hoover. He did a wonderful job. He kept the communication, and he talked, and he didn't, scare away easily. So I appreciate that. Let me just talk about a couple of things that I've heard some complaints about. And with the new City Hall, there's concerns about why we spent $10 million to buy that building, which was on city land to begin with, and we had the first option, right of refusal. The point being, we knew there was a plan for a new City Hall out on Friendship Lane, and we thought at the minimum it was going to be $25 million, if not more. So we think we were frugal in buying that building. Certainly it's a great location, and we knew we needed to expand. So hopefully that building will be there for a while, and you'll get used to it at City Hall just like you did the old one. Community, I continue to say that we need people involved. I try to respond to every email or phone call. We can't always fix it all, but at least we can listen to them. We do have a big transportation issue here, and unfortunately, probably have to be a bond election, but it's not going to happen immediately. But we do need a plan for that, as we know the water issues. Certainly important. The other thing was the Texas Rangers. I know people have complained about us giving that to the Texas Historical Commission. I didn't necessarily like that. We did give them a 10-year. They have to perform some things where it would go back to the city. I don't like giving away land, period. I want to give away my own land so that's why we did it. Nothing was going to happen with it. They've, as we all know, the fort's gone. It sat there forever, and everybody tried, but nothing. No momentums were going. So I want to continue, at least for 2 more years, doing some of the common sense deal that's going to help our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy?
At the end of the day, I'm a team builder. I look to find consensus, and I've done that with our county commissioners. I've reached out to each one. I've only missed one at this point in time. Our judge, I view them as stewards and partners in this journey for Gillespie County and, more importantly, Fredericksburg in this particular race, but also these gentlemen on stage and also all of the candidates here. I want to thank them for participating as well. I've reached out to Gary. Gary's attended sessions with me. Jerry has attended sessions with me at the Democratic session. He tried to take over. That's no surprise at this point, right? Charlie's been with sessions. Tony and I have done a couple of sessions. So I feel like I'm already building the team. And it's in your hands to choose your starting lineup. Thank you for your consideration, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have some good news. We do not have to choose between preserving what we love and preparing for what's ahead. We can do both. The state of our city is very strong. It's okay to disagree. You don't want 5 people in groupthink. I hope you've been able to sniff out some of what differentiates us. There will be 3 people on this panel that will be on council, joining Todd Edson and Bobby Watson, whose terms will be up in May of 27. I think our best years are ahead. And just to encapsulate that, if you don't plan on it already, please make sure that you go to the volunteer fish fry that is at Market Plots on Saturday. There you will see a long line of people. You'll see Jerry Luckenbach heckling people throughout the line, and Aaron Kuhlman selling last-minute raffle tickets for an incredible raffle. You'll see the crew that's frying the fish take it very seriously, almost as seriously as they keep us safe. And it's a wonderful event, and I think it encapsulates what makes us interconnected. I think we do the next right thing. We do what's right for our people, because ultimately it's about the people. Like, y'all are worth fighting for. People that are in their community, they're worth fighting for, and that's why I'm running. And I would appreciate your vote May 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, city council candidates, thank you very much. Mayor candidates, thank you very much. And we are on time. I'd like to thank State Security Bank for sponsoring the event again, FBG Live for broadcasting this, and thank you, Fredericksburg Theater, for hosting us this evening. Thank you all very much.